What is up guys, Wraec here with a new video, and today we are going to talk about Mikola. She's the newest hero in AFK Journey, another hero to the Mauler faction, Mauler support, just like Smokey in that regard, and she has a few problems we are going to talk about, but in the end I want to answer the question, should you summon her, how many copies should you summon, and well, are those problems something that might keep you from getting her at all? So first of all, let's hop into some gameplay, because she's a very visual hero, not only because of the dance performance from the trailer that I'm sure you've seen, but also once you start the battle you see this bell up on the top and it generates this arena, and this arena is her main thing. Once your heroes are in this arena for 3 seconds and are basically more of your heroes than the enemy heroes in this arena, for 3 seconds you conquer it, it will be green, otherwise it will be red, and from there on out Mikola generates buffs for you. Her ult, on the other hand, is this little circle she's going to generate in a second. This circle provides buffs for your allies, and it's also kind of interesting. You already see that your Snow Stomper usually disrupts that, on Smokey it disrupts that, but this is not channeled ult. This is not a channeled ult, this is in fact an ult that is cast by her, and once she casts it, it's active. And it lasts for 12 seconds, unless you have Supreme Plus, then it is infinite basically. It's infinite as long as you have control of the arena, which we of course in this fight have for the entire fight duration. You can see really not a damage dealer here, pretty decent heal. And what we can't see here, quite a lot of buffs. You will see a major increase in Lily Mace damage if you combine her with that. But of course there are limits that apply. We already saw the circle isn't quite that big. The circle that she generates, that can't keep up with Smokey. And if we check it out, in fact, this circle that she generates is only a 2-tile sphere. So 2 tiles is pretty far away from Smokey's range, which is basically the entire arena, but we get very great buffs in there. Basically the 40 haste for all allies is what we're looking for. We also gain 10 range def, not too insane, but the 40 haste is quite insane. While she has this sphere, she also generates healing ray. So 40 haste is a pretty massive buff to our DPS. So this is really what you want from her. On top of that, we also have the arena, and from the arena we also gain HP restoration every second by 12 plus 2%, and we increase attack by 14%. So having control of the arena is pretty major. Pretty major. The enemy can of course take control away from you. As far as I saw it, they don't profit from it, but they stop you from getting healed and gaining buffs. So I said there are problems with her. So what are the problems really? And for that, let's just hop into a PvP gameplay. And in this PvP gameplay, I want you to keep track of only Mikola. Keep your eyes on Mikola, and just try to keep an eye on her position. So this gameplay, this is basically a loss. It's as much as a loss as it can be, and it's for my live stream where we tested her extensively and tried out a lot of stuff. And in there, this gameplay happened. I'm going to lower the speed so you can keep an eye on her. She is down there now, of course CC'd, and now keep an eye on her what she does. She runs straight past our tanks, straight past our Frestos, and is now actually our hero that is most towards the front. She even ran past Fresto, so there is actually no ally anymore between her and the enemy, meaning every single enemy that now tries to find anybody to attack will target her first, because she is the closest hero, and we see her getting finished off there by a Skalita ult. In this particular situation, honestly, her taking the Skalita ult was probably the better option, but yeah, the thing is, every single enemy targeted her, and that is something that we can observe in other fights as well. Let's watch another one. Again, same situation, same team, this time out with Sharky. I'm not sure we used Sharky in the last team, I'm not sure. And this one is a win, however, so we were lucky, to be honest. Again, same situation, keep an eye on Mikola, and Mikola runs straight to the enemy. And the main thing is, she is fast. She is faster than Fresto, actually. So it's actually one of the first heroes targeted here. Sharky was a bit closer to the enemy, so targeted first, and she is gone. So our support hero never got to do an ult, and I'll be honest, through all the fights that I did in PvP, I couldn't get her to do an ult, which is ridiculous because she just kills herself that fast. By the way, a little bit of a marker, those green and red arrows, those show the allies and enemies that are in the arena. So those that don't have that arrow, they are not in the arena. And in fact, that is also the first problem, or the second problem that we really have. The first problem is, of course, that she basically kills herself there. The other one is oftentimes those heroes that are in the arena don't register as in the arena. Happens a lot with Talene revives, Fresto copy often isn't recognized, and the arena seems smaller than it is displayed in game. That is, I think, a bug. The major thing, I hope they fix that, because it's quite annoying and you can notice it in Dream Realm quite often. The major thing really is, why is she running towards the enemy like this? And we were figuring that out during this stream the entire time. The reason is she is a melee character. She has no melee attack. She's a melee character though. And you can see that she has a range of 1. 1 means that she can only target enemies, or can only try to attack enemies that are in an adjacent tile. So right next to her. They have to be right next to her in the tile. And of course, to regenerate energy, she has to do her auto attack. So she will try to get in a position where she is next to an enemy. And that is horrible. I want to give you an example. It is a bit of a strange one, but I will give you an example. Let's go into Dream Realm, and I want you to imagine the following. Let's take this team. So let's imagine this starting position. Imagine this Scalita here was an enemy. The Fresto is on our side, this is our Mikola. So the way this would turn out if both Frestos attack this Scalita, the position Mikola chooses, because she has a 1 range, would be that she would run over here and get right up here to attack this Scalita, which means Scalita could send her to orbit, of course, which is horrible, but also has another disadvantage. Every enemy on that side now has her as closest hero. If there were other enemies like here somewhere, she's now the closest hero, she will be attacked. And she's in fact not that tanky that she can survive that. The next big problem is she's super fast. So let's say we get rid of the Scalita, destroy it. The likelihood that she's going to take that Scalita's position instead of the Frestos is super high, just because she is that fast. So oftentimes I see that not only she runs past the tanks, but then just also puts herself in front of them and then absolutely gets destroyed. So really, I've never managed to let her get an ult in PvP. That is ridiculous. And it's always because she runs to the enemy. This also has some advantages in Dream Realm, but let's talk about those in a second. What would be a more ideal situation for PvP? We recreate the same situation. We again have the Scalita here. Where would you ideally want to have her? Like probably right here, or here, maybe even here. Probably one of those 2 slots. Because in either of those 2 slots, there is a Fresto between you and Scalita. Because if she does the ult, that's horrible. But in this situation, there's like a Fresto between them. For this, we would need a range of about 2, because there's 1 tile in between. This is 1 range, so this having 1 tile in between is a 2 range. 2 range would be great. 3 range would be great, because with 3 range we are still pretty decently close, but we can attack. Other supporters, by the way, if you want to take a look at their ranges, far different. We can filter here, filter by support, and take a look. Hewin, for example, with a 4 range. Pretty nice, actually. I would prefer a 2 or 3 on Mikola, I have to say. Rhaenyr's with a 5, standing far behind. Damien at 20, Ludovic at 6, Coco at 4. Nero is the only one that also has a 1 range, and well, he's considered pretty bad, so well, might be part of it. Smokey, of course, with the 8 range. So why do I just want 2 or 3 range for her? Well, that has a reason. The reason is she synergizes with melee heroes. She synergizes with heroes that stick pretty close to the boss, and her bubble is rather small. Her sphere is rather small, so we have to get that somewhere where we have allies. And of course with the 1 range she stands right in front of the boss. Every single other melee character is also there, so likely they will be within that sphere, giving them the buff, bringing that into a pretty easy situation. If you would give her an 8 range, she would stand far in the back, and buff probably like Rainier or something. Maybe a Lily May if you are lucky, but in the current situation we often manage to buff her, buff every single hero in a Dream Realm situation. So let's watch another fight there. Here we have a fight against King Croaker. We use double healer, which is pretty interesting that it was used a lot. It's like double attack buff. You have 2 Mauler heroes, of course, in the team. I saw that used a lot and I had some success with it. Fighting against King Croaker using Talene to soak up the ults, and I was trying to bring Merrily into a position, Mikola into a position where she buffs every single hero. So this was the lineup I came up with. We can try to replay, and really it is a bit difficult to find that position. You don't want her to take the bubble. You at the same time want to buff your Lily May. You want to buff everybody basically on the board, and this is what I did to achieve that. So let's watch it. Fresto changing the position here. We have it on a little bit of slow speed. I will make it faster in a second. This is just for the start. So we take a little bit of time to get to the ult, and once the ult is active, of course, we are in a perfect position. We see all of the allies that stand in front of the boss are inside, and as far as it looks, she's also still inside. So that's pretty good. And with that we found a pretty good position, and this is really what it's about. If we had an 8 position, you can imagine she would stand somewhere like here, buffing none of those Frestos, not buffing the Talene, maybe still buffing the Lily May, but that would be about it. So we can't give her too much range, but with a 2 range she would probably only change her position more towards the smoky position, maybe right in front of the smoky, something like that I would imagine would be her position. And with that she would be absolutely fine and still be perfectly good for Dream Realm and way better for PvP, and we may actually see her ult in their shine as well. So now, should you summon for her? We said a lot of bad things. She pretty much entered the meta in a lot of those formations for a lot of bosses. We see her here, there's from Anna, there is a nice team. Necro Dragon yesterday had teams with her. We had King Croaker, where oh, that's me. I was just saying, wait, I know that name. That's me with the team. And here we have it in Skyclops. So basically, she nearly entered the meta of every single boss. I think those 2 bosses, Lone Gaze and Alpha Bear, weren't live yet ever since her release. But she pretty much entered every single boss fight. So yeah, obviously you want her. I would summon Lily May first if you haven't. But there is like a very nice budget pick here for you to do with Mikola to basically get all of the buffs and still don't summon too much. So the way you can do it is she is a little bit different than other heroes in the regard that we don't need anything from her Mythic, Legendary Plus or her Supreme Plus. I said the ultimate is infinite once you have Supreme Plus, and this is worded pretty weirdly. It's Mikola's Curse Sphere remains unaffected in duration if her side gains control of the on arena. What they mean is it just doesn't end as long as you have control of the arena. You don't need that. You need that only if you want to make use of the Mythic Plus. The Mythic Plus is an additional buff that is activated 6 seconds after you cast a Curse Sphere, and this does some damage. We were hoping it does a lot of damage. It does very little damage. You can get it 2 times 10 if you want the Vitality, but it's pretty useless. And sadly, right now, or it's not properly displayed. Might also be the case. We don't know. We had the problem with Fresto. We'll have to wait. Right now it doesn't seem very special. But if you don't want to make use of that, you don't need this, because this is 12 seconds duration. And that means, as it's not a channeled ult, she will have full energy before this ult even ends. So once it ends, she just casts it again. So you basically have 100% uptime on her buffs just without Supreme Plus. You don't need Mythic Plus. This is nice, some extra attack, but if you don't have it, well, it won't end your world. It's okay. So you can get all of her relevant buffs and all of her relevant skills from a single copy. You just need a single copy. You get the arena, you get the attack buff, you get the haste buff, you get the heal, you get the fist buff, you get all of that on a single copy. The only things you don't get are of course the extra stats from Supreme Plus. We have some healing in there. We have, of course, some vitality buffs that can come from this. We have some major stat buffs. Yeah, you will have less stats, but as long as your Mikola survives and you maybe don't use her to tank the boss's attacks, you might honestly be in a good position just having one copy. So I would recommend you get one copy. And if you're wailing, well, maybe just max her because, well, it's boss meta, so you kind of want to go for those leaderboards. But you still have some time for it. I was confused a little bit because Lily May and Mikola rate ups are like the same duration, nearly it's like 6-day difference only. But yeah, you still have 17 days to decide on that. I recommend get at least one copy, and if you want to go for more, that's fine. Just don't be super impressed by her Mythic Plus, or I'm not super impressed by her Mythic Plus and neither by her Supreme Plus. Her Supreme Plus seems way better than it is in reality. You really only need it because, well, there is this 6 seconds duration that your ult has to run before the Mythic Plus ability activates, so having an infinite duration on there so that you only have to activate once is pretty great in that regard. But if you don't want to do that damage, and it seems negligent at this moment, you are perfectly fine. Maybe last thing, set bonus and the charm that you want in general. I went for attack skill power. They recommend skill power charms, which I think is good. Gives you an extra attack buff, gives you some extra healing, very, very nice. Her heal scales off the attack. So if you want more heal, you can go with the attack. If you want to survive a bit better, you are perfectly good running HP skill power. I went full attack on this one. So, yeah, that is everything I want to say about Mikola. Pretty good hero, honestly. Pretty good hero with some flaws. I hope that they just give her a little bit of a buff, maybe at the start of next season, I don't mind. And just give her that 2 or 3 attack range so that we can make some more use out of her in PvP, because I think she could be pretty interesting there as well. Well, with that, I hope you subscribe to the channel and I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.